Welcome back to the show. Today I want to take a look at some really cool miniatures from a really cool miniature company called Otherworld Miniatures. Otherworld is a company based out of the UK, and they started in the late 2000s doing a series of very old school miniatures you can use them for just about any tabletop role-playing game, but when we take a look at these, I think you're going to agree that these things really pop in terms of having the look and feel of AD&D characters and monsters. They have a few different lines, but they all kind of fall broadly under just being Otherworld miniatures. Their focus so far has been entirely on fantasy gaming miniatures. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those miniatures right now. I've got a pretty good selection and a pretty surprising piece. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, so here we have the standard packaging for Otherworld miniatures. This is a nice sturdy polycarbonate plastic shell here. The interesting thing about this is it reseals, and it's a little difficult to open, so I'm going to spare you watching me fumble with this for 30 seconds, but you can snap it right back shut. So if you want to use this as, just to carry a couple of nice miniatures around in, or if you want to use it to store bits or whatever, it's kind of a reusable container. If that's not important to you, then you can use it as a paint tray or whatever. And as we dig further into the package, we have, pop that out. This is just a nice cardboard inset. It's got some information on it back there. I'll just give you a quick read. Otherworld Miniatures produce a range of 28mm fantasy gaming figures inspired by some of the iconic imagery of early role-playing games. Their ever-expanding range can be found at, and then there's their URL, which I will link in the description below, so no worries about that. And then there's just some basic instructions about, how to handle a miniature and so forth. It's kind of boilerplate. So let's dig further into the package. And one of the nice things about the Otherworld minis, and I will go into some details as to why, is they all, pretty much all, of the character minis anyway that I've gotten so far, they come on this slotted 28mm base. Now that's real nice. If you want to just mount them up on a very simple base, paint that with a stone texture, just leave it black or what have you, you've got that comes right in there. And of course there's a nice thick foam pad that keeps that miniature from getting beaten up. Just standard stuff, Oh, sponge there for washing up. Or you can pad out many cases with it or what have you. And of course, here's the whole shell. Now here is the mini, and unfortunately, I don't think my little Logitech camera is going to do it justice in terms of exactly how nicely detailed this is. So when you're done watching the video, go to Otherworld's website and look at their miniatures. They are absolutely gorgeous. And they've got some very talented painters there who put some beautiful paint jobs on them. I'll show some of my painted ones here in just a second. But yeah, so here's the mini. The slot base here kind of serves as a sprue for her left arm. And just kind of looking her over, and this particular female cleric she's sort of representative by and large of how their minis are presented. She looks like a dungeon adventurer who's ready to adventure in dungeons. I mean, there's no spiky shoulder pads and improbable weapons and no giant mohawks here. A backpack, couple of stakes attached to her belt. She's got her flail ready. She's got her holy symbol. She's a cleric there. Just a very utilitarian look. So if you're going for less sort of a gothic or dungeon punk look and feel, Otherworld character minis are absolutely the way to go. Now, I was talking about the slotted base just a minute ago, and I wanted to touch on that some. As you can see, you can just, once you take the arm off and attach it to the mini, it just fits in the slot like that. See? No problem. But what is nice about these is if you want to mount them on a base it's a bit more elaborate, for the character minis that I've seen so far, this can be very easily removed. Now, I'm not picking on Reaper. I love their products too. In fact, I'm going to talk about them in another episode. But like their broccoli bases are very difficult at times to cut off without just dulling the heck out of all of your tools. Just a couple of snips, however, on the Otherworld Mini, and then she's ready to mount on another base, as I have done here with this male cleric. And I've put him on a secret weapons miniature resin base, and I'm going to be talking about secret weapons later. And I've kind of started to paint the good brother up here a little bit. He is similarly equipped. There's his requisite blunt weapon, and he's holding his holy symbol there in his hand. And I've got the chainmail based. I got a little bit of detail on his face. So far, all of their sculpts have been great. There's very little in the way of mold lines getting in the way. I haven't had to do a whole lot of cleaning with them. I'm going to go over my mini prep and painting techniques in another episode. But so far, prep on these has been minimal, which is great if you want to just jump right in to painting. For example, and this is another sad example of my camera not really being able to show off all the detail. This is a troll, and this guy right here, my paint job notwithstanding, is a classic AD&D troll. And look at this guy. He's got the long pointy nose, the skinny rubbery limbs, the warty hide. His eyes are just pits you can just fill in with black and make him look as horrible and as merciless as you want. And that is, in fact, what actually drew me to Otherworld minis. I mean, their character minis are awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's the monster minis that really, really make their product line. When you go to their website, in fact, I will link straight to this. Take a look at their Owlbear mini. Their Owlbear mini, which I have one. It's not assembled or painted, but their Owlbear miniature looks like Jim Rosloff's illustration of the Owlbear from Keep on the Borderlands. It's that good. It's a 3D representation of that. It is the best Owlbear mini, and I know that seems like a silly thing to harp on, but it is the best Owlbear mini I have seen out there, bar none, and that includes the sadly long out of print Owlbear mini that was done for the Hackmaster game back in the early 2000s. The Owlbear mini that they do is really great, and you're going to have to pardon me while I do this now. I got to reach over here and pick this up. Another really cool mini that they do. And this is, this is one of their polycarbonate cases. I trimmed the edge off to make it a little easier to open, and you can see how well that's working out. This one has a large base. This is like I guess it would be a 30 or 40 millimeter base there for it, and you'll see why in just a second. This, I think, is one of their coolest monsters that they've got. It's polystyrene or foam rubber, whatever that you'd call that. So, we have the base, and it comes with this beautiful, this is about the size of a 50-cent piece here, this beautiful stonework base right there that you can attach on top of the regular base, or not if you don't want to. So now we have a resin cast fountain that you can paint up. You can just shade it if you like the kind of gray texture there. And again, you can mount, am I getting that in shot? There we go. There we go. You can mount that to that. Now, so it's a fountain, and sure enough, here's a little acrylic pool of water that you can set right in the fountain. So it's a miniature that serves serves as a little bit of terrain on your tabletop. But wait, it's not just a fountain. It's not just a pool. It is the lair of the dreaded water weird. That's right. They have sculpted and cast a clear acrylic water weird, which, and again, this is not something that comes across, I think, on camera real well. But if you go and you check out the old Water Weird illustration in the first edition Monster Manual, let me get that centered there. if you check him out, that is a darn near perfect representation of what he looks like. So you can set the scene on the tabletop with a fountain in the middle. The unsuspecting party approaches it, and then you just pop this out and slip that right in. And then you've got an on-table representation of the terrible water weird as it attacks the party and they try and loot its fountain. And that is gold right there. Well, it's transparent, but I think you know what I mean. that is a fantastic piece. I love this piece. It's so detailed. It's got such great greeblies, if you will. You can leave it in the fountain just like that, and just have it on the tabletop, mount it on the base, mount it on that base, make a little sandwich there, and stack them all together. It's just, it's a great little mini. And I could stop there and have you hopefully completely convinced and ready to run out and buy some Otherworld minis. But that ain't the coolest thing they've got going, not by far. So if you haven't already opened the Otherworld website in another browser, or you're not already aware of what I think is their pièce de résistance, let me show it to you right now. And it is, drum roll please, I don't really have a drum, right here. Feast your eyes on that, viewers. That, just in case you've been living under a rock and not playing AD&D, is the Demon Idol sculpture from the cover of the first edition AD&D module. Now his hands aren't there. I've got them right here. This is actually a 2-piece resin set. And you have to do a little bit of work here and attach his hands. Now, I would definitely recommend doing a little bit of sanding and a little bit of filling in to get these things to fit in perfectly. Maybe even pin them, but depending on what kind of CA glue you're using, that might not be a necessity. Excuse me. But yeah, this guy right here is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I think this is their landmark product. This is their flagship item right here. So, oh, what's that you say? Oh, there's no thieves climbing on him, and he doesn't have gem eyes. Well, the gem eyes do come with the Demon Idol sculpture. And not only do you get the traditional huge garnets that will sell for a pretty price for adventurers, but you actually get a multicolored set of gem eyes to pop in. And I'm just going to show you those real quick. Hopefully they will show up on camera. I realize they're very tiny, but bear with me. There's a few other goodies in this baggie I don't want to show off too, but don't want to spoil the surprise. So there you go. That's what you get for the gem eyes. You get multicolored sets, green, blue, and red. Now, but you say, the image still isn't complete. It's got the gem eyes. Where are the thieves? Where's the altar? Also, Otherworld has all of those items. Check that out right there. There's the altar. There are the flaming torches. And I can hear you pulling those player's handbooks off. This has got a little bit of mold line there, so I'm not going to be able to stand it up. I don't think that it's not going to cooperate. In fact, I would recommend, after you clean these off, mounting these on bases, even if they're just small washers or something, or pennies or what have you. But you do get the 2 standing braziers, and also in the bag, sculpted flames, a Demon Idol miniature for the Demon Idol miniature that you can put right there on the altar. You get a sacrificial dagger, which is buried down here in the bag somewhere, to put on the altar. And of course, last but not least, no giant demon idol with big gem eyes would be complete without a pair of thieves to mount on the sculpture, the miniature, prying those gems out, which clearly I don't have this guy put together yet, but I was so eager to show him off. But you can mount him right there in the appropriate spot and just paint him up. Now this is a two-piece guy. His arm is actually in that accessories bag I was showing you earlier. You can just mount them right there as they appear on the player's handbook. Now, if it were me, if I was not going to use this as a showpiece, but I was actually going to have this on the tabletop periodically, I would maybe use just a little tiny bit of blue tack to hold these guys on, just some kind of gummy substance to just hold these dudes on when I wanted it for show, and then just take them off when I wanted to use this as a set piece for an adventure or something like that. That way, it's not just an expensive paperweight. And speaking of expense, let's talk about prices. Most of the character minis for Otherworld run in the $7 to $9 range. Prices against the euro right now are really good, so if you're ordering from overseas, you might be able to get a good deal. I think the Otherworld website actually does sell in British pounds, so you're probably going to do better if you can source them locally, depending on where you are in the world. However, with that said, most of mine were actually purchased directly from Otherworld. Their customer service was fantastic. The shipping was prompt. I have no complaints about ordering directly from Otherworld Miniatures. I'm going to put this troll over here and let him menace that cleric so you guys have got something to look at. I have no problem, again, ordering directly from Otherworld Miniatures. If you really don't want to wait on shipping, if you want to get it now, I've found lots of stateside vendors that do sell them. The only issue I found so far with that is availability of pieces. Sometimes, vendor A may have all the characters but one or two that you want. Sometimes vendor B might not have the demon idol if you want to order and that sort of thing. And speaking of the demon idol and larger pieces, they are commensurately more expensive. Now, the demon idol itself, I actually got this guy in as a large set. You can order the demon idol, the altar and accessories, and in what they call the demon idol diorama pack, where you get the idol, you get the altar, you get the brazier, you get the two thieves doing their thing, and the whole thing can run you $65 to $70 US. I think it's a darn good deal for what you get. This is a very nicely sculpted piece. It's resin, but to be honest, if it was metal, it would weigh a ton. And I don't think, at least in the case of this piece, the metal would hold the detail as nicely. Now, if you look at his bottom here, I mean, this is clearly, this is just nothing but injection points over here. But 99 times out of 100, he's going to be sitting just like that on the tabletop. You can, mount him on a huge base if you want, make him part of a larger diorama. Everything that's important, though, front, sides, and back, extremely well sculpted. Very little cleanup to do here. It's just his fanny and the bottom of his legs and so forth that are pretty rough. I am probably just going to end up leaving him sitting just like that, and I'm not going to worry about an elaborate base. I use my minis on the tabletop. They're not showpieces. They're for gaming with. So yeah, in the overall, I gotta say, I love Otherworld Miniatures. I think they're great. They are absolutely old school in look and in feel. I like the scale. That's kind of an important thing to me. I mean, you start getting miniatures that are advertised as 28, and sometimes they're as big as 35, pushing 40 millimeters, 35, 38, 40 millimeters. it gets a little difficult to kind of have things out the way you want it as far as scale on the tabletop. But at the same time, they have a lot of gorgeous detail to them. I have nothing but good things to say about Otherworld as a company as far as their response to customer inquiries, as far as their sales. They do have a forum, and that is linked in the comments below, or rather, that is linked in the description below. And yeah, Otherworld miniatures, they pop. They're good stuff. I highly recommend. Yes, you should go out and buy some if you are into miniatures on the tabletop. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Get yourself some Otherworld miniatures if you like to put together and paint metal minis. Otherwise, don't. But no, all kidding aside, they're a great addition to your tabletop. They look like first edition AD&D monsters and what you'd like to think characters in an AD&D game would look like. So, if you like this video, subscribe. If you like this video, click like. Subscribe to the channel. We are going to a 1 episode a week format, so hopefully there will not be a big 3-week gap between now and next time. I thank everybody for your patience. Thank you for watching Otherworld Miniatures. Check them out. I'm the Dungeon Delver. Have a good one.